So today I will focus on three things. First of all, the trend of green investing, and also some highlight in Southeast Asia, and then as RBC, what we focus. So as you can see here, there's some facts about the impact investing market. So we can see that about asset classes, we got like private debt, got the majority, but also we got some public equity and private equity play a very significant role in terms of financing this work. And the whole size is around about 600 billion USD. And also after the COP26, we recognize that as countries around the world, they commit like 100 billion every year for investing in the impact, green impact. And also we can recognize who are the investor in this world. Most of them, they're asset managers like us, alternative asset managers, like more than half of them. And we also got DFI and also family offices really want to focus on this area. And if you look at the third diagram, we can see that what are the sector that play very important in the impact investing market, which is financial services, energy, and also we can see the rest of healthcare and microfinance, a lot of things. But I also believe that there will be layers of sectors that we invest in the green and also impact investing, which is that the finance will anyway set the first layer, and then we got energy, be in invest with heavy money, and then many things else will follow after those heavy investment. So we can recognize that it is the very first layer that we've been in terms of impact investing. After this first layer has settled out, there will be more in the future. And we can get this diagram here, which is the rise of the purpose-driven investment. We also got a WhatsApp group. The name is Impactful Investor, where we exchange the ideas of the purposeful fund managers. So we can see that the people that come to the group every day got me to think that there's a trend in terms of purposeful investment. So for now, the next generation of investment is not just about the return, the profit. It's also about the impact that we can create, the green impacts of social sustainability. So this, you see, is on the rise. And I think it will also increase in a couple of years. And we also can see that the sustainability fund, look at the number, you can see that the increase of sustainability funds in the US, the biggest market for all, right? And we also can see that the fund that focus on sustainability been closed within this year around Southeast Asia is also the huge number. We can see some funds like Waymaker Partners have opened their own impact fund, and also my very long-term partners in Ireland, the group of angel named Halo Business Angel, they also create their impact chapter just last year. So we can see that the trend of investor that focus on impact is really there. And also growing the relevance of the ESG reporting for country in some region, as you can see. So the regulation focus more on ESG. So that's why Europe is a very good old countries and regions that focus on the regulatory of ESG is obvious. And just after that, it's our area, Asia Pacific. So it's a good sign. We can see from this one, it's a good sign that the regulator agree to put ESG into their agenda also. And particularly in Vietnam, you can see that the Prime Minister come to COP26 and got some promise We hope that we can carry on that promise. But anyway, it's a good sign that politicians try to get involved in this topic. And I think it's a very interesting comparison. You have a look at the value behind customer last century and this century. So before, in the 20th century, the credit, advertising, and individual ownership creates the consumption. So people consume because they hype, they like the advertising, they like the ownership in some of the product. But nowadays, everything changes. So nowadays, in the 21st century, the consumer want more about the community. They want to get in the community in terms of consumption. So we can see that we got some community that really green community. We do not produce like plastic straw or a plastic cup. We like to belong to the sustainable community, and also the rapid share access really affect the collaborative consumption. So it will be a really good sign that the customer behavior will shape the future of the business. So we can see here this the very interesting comparison. And what about Gen Z? We can see that Gen Z is the one that consume most of the product that we create today, and also they will shape our future. So about Gen Z, after this from Statista report and survey, we see that what they fear the most, climate change. So 41% of the Gen Z's answer, they really afraid of climate change. I think it's another good sign, because at least people fear. So people can try to get to know it and then find a good way to fight against. And below that, it will be pollution and terrorism and anything else. So about the bank, they raise the climate-related risk at the most important risk category. So if we have a look at here, within over the next 5 years, the important risk for the bank, our mainstream financial institution, we can see climate, because what they categorize the important risk, the most important, followed by global economics recovery and a lot of things. So we come back to our region. In here, I'm sitting here in Vietnam, the balcony of the Indochina, and you guys here in Hong Kong, and we are covered by ocean. So this is our ocean, this is our home, and this is our topic. So based on the numbers that we got as an investment platform and as an VC firm, we can see that there's around 362 companies that operate in the ocean technology in Southeast Asia. Within this 10 years, we got 466 deals. We got like 400 investors, and the things that we worry the most as a VC fund is that how to exit, how to sell the company and make returns from the ocean tech company. And the good sign is that we also got exit. We got company that like to buy our investees, and we can see most of the IPO, most of it is an IPO company. So how we can get to the next part, which is about the ocean tech, about the exit. We can see that most of the exit for now is secondary offering, but I believe in the future it will be more M&A, and the big corporate really got the interest on how to buy more ocean technology within Southeast Asia. Because anyway, in Southeast Asia, in this region, we got enough area to test, right? Test our product in the ocean. We got enough ocean to do it. Before, when I used to, my main career is based in Ireland. And I also invest in a wave energy company in Ireland, and I recognize that that ocean is really different that ocean is a very cold ocean, and the living creatures there is not really much. So we can make energy there, but we cannot make at the most like in this area, in this ocean, our ocean. And also about the investor, I think it's a very great part for startup that joined the webinar today, which is most of the private equity, most of our investor is private equity, 62%. And venture capital, and we see here just about 6%, but it's growing. Like I say, this period of time is a period of time where we invest in energy and financial services to support the green tech in particular. And so it's like the very first layer. With this first layer, we need more money. Money from private equity is more money than VC money. But in the near future, when we got the layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3, there will be more innovation. And with more innovation, we need startup. Smaller scale, smaller money, but more innovative. That the role of the VC will be more significant in that term. And I believe it's just like 2 or 3 years, in the next 2 or 3 years, more VC will jump into this part, this sector. And about Earth Venture Capital work, what we try to do, we got 3 missions that set up for the Fund 1. First of all is accelerating the application of renewable energy. The mission 2 is about abandon fossil fuel. Mission 3 is we try to increase the carbon storage. And we recognize through many scientific researches that the tree, the forest is outperformed by the ocean in terms of carbon storage. So we really believe that in our portfolio in this year or next year, we hope to find some company that focus on the ocean tech, so that we can find the carbon storage and invest in them. And in our point of view of Earth Venture Capital, ocean is the source of energy, source of food, like we do fishing, like the fish farming in Vietnam and in Indonesia, as you see. And we got the ocean. This ocean is the logistic ocean, where our main logistic route is just go through this ocean. It's really different from the Irish Sea or the North Ocean, right? And it's the source of medicine. We can see that many ingredients that we got from the ocean is to make medicine is from the ocean, right? And oxygen is what we produce from the ocean. So within our Earth Venture Foundation, we really want to put grant in some ocean-related scientific researchers. And we hope through this webinar, we can network to some university scientists or inventor to see what kind of researchers that we can grant. And the last thing, we really want to bring ocean tech ideas into practical business. So that's why we launched the batch 1.5 for founders in Vietnam. If you just have the ideas, very nascent idea, just bring to the studio. We help you to bring it into the practical business. And to the last part, to conclusion, we can see, to me and to Earth VC, climate change is reality. And warming is man-made, okay? And we have little time to design. We just need to jump in and execute. And our action today will affect our centuries, the next centuries. And also, we also believe that if we do nothing, will cost more in the long run. So we need to do something. We need to do something positive right now. And in the long run, private funds will play a very important role. We have seen that many COP26 and maybe next year will be COP27 or something, but at the nation level or regional level, it's uneasy to make fast decision. So our private funds, and if we get some fund managers that join the webinar, I really want to tell you that we will be the important player in this world, in this climate change world, and only private funds can accelerate more ideas and also innovation in terms of climate change. And we also believe that CO2 emission should be zero for a few decades, and it's really hard, really hard mission, and because it is related to many nations, many politicians, a lot of things. So, but that's the mission that we really want, and we need to do, right? And so I also believe that ocean will be our game changer. Everything is so hard to do for now, but we need to focus on what kind of things that we can do. So ocean is one of the priority that we got in our agenda and in our investment thesis. So again, ocean will be one of the key things that we can do to pursue these nearly impossible mission to save the earth. So for the last part, this is me and my son in the city of Vietnam, and I really hope that what I can do will bring some better future for him. Not this future, right? Not this scene of children in the very polluted sea. It's very disturbing to me. So I hope that what we try to do today will bring a better result for my son and my grandson. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Tien, on the information about the impact investment, ocean tech investment market, as well as the work of Earth Venture Capital. And alongside the potential in green investments, I am also aware that there are actually a lack of transparency in the green investment markets. But fortunately, our second speaker, Mr. Sam Cooke, the CEO of CarbonX Global, has been tackling this problem by doing B2B work in the climate markets. So previously, Sam has worked for China Resource Power, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, as well as Oceans Asia. So now let's welcome Sam to talk about the work of CarbonX in connecting green startups and corporations within the climate market. Sam, please go ahead.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, Nancy very succinctly put it. We're all very concerned about verification and transparency. And previously, my time at the Asian Development Bank, that was my primary project, was looking at the transparency in climate financing. So myself, along with my co-founder, Levine, who is also on this call, we started working together in this area. So I'll just share my screen now for what we do, as well as talk a little bit more about the role of climate financing in Hong Kong. So Tien very succinctly put it in for the broader Asian APAC region, but now we'll look at Hong Kong as a subset. And as for everyone who's in Hong Kong right now, I think we can all agree it's quite an important topic. We just need to look out the window at our current typhoon to get a sense of what extreme weather and climate change will do to our environment. So anyway, so I'm CEO of CarbonX. We're primarily a B2B platform for environmental tech startups to link up with larger corporate clients so that they can increase their revenue, and then also the corporates can help fulfill their ESG, CSR goals while also helping their bottom line. So in that sense, we've got three tiers, three different offerings. One of the things we do is we do education. So we do different workshops and webinars, both free and paid for, such as this one, alongside our different partners. And for that reason, we have partnered with Accelerate, which is Hong Kong's leading edtech platform, to provide education on the internet connections between tech and the environment. So this is going back to the idea of there's a lot of money getting put into the environment. For example, Tien's presentation showed that in impact investing alone, there was around 700 billion going in, but you need to make sure that that money is actually getting used properly. Otherwise, it's the value created from that is lessened, I should say. The second thing we're doing, and the area which we see there's quite a gap in the market, is in creating a B2B marketplace. So a lot of these corporations, in particular larger corporations, as in a few hundred staff, a few hundred million to a few billion in revenue, they now have to report their ESG goals, sustainability goals, CSR goals, both in Hong Kong and globally. Traditionally, Europe, as Tien mentioned, Europe and the USA were a bit ahead of the curve, but now you're starting to see this investment also come in the APAC region. But in order to do that, there's a lot of due diligence and a lot of time and effort that needs to go into this. So what we have proposed to the startups and to the corporates is we help them to link up with the large corporates so they can get their service out there quicker. In fact, one of our next speakers, Sidhant, is a partner with CarbonX, and we're doing that for him right now with a few different clients, which he may or may not mention in his talk. So we've been doing this, and lately we've been focusing on oceanic tech, such as Clearbot, because of the environment which we're in. Hong Kong has a beautiful natural environment. It's a land full of mountains, islands, and water. And it's one of the few places I know of where I can go sailing, scuba diving, paragliding, rock climbing, and everything I want, all within a major metropolitan hub. I for sure know I'm not scuba diving in the Thames in London, for example. And because of that, we are focusing on the oceanic side, just because we want to better protect the Hong Kong ecosystem. And finally, we do some investments. So for the best startups that we've come across, we are happy to do a little bit of investments into their seed or Series A round, while also we look for other partners in which they can invest in. So we are talking with different funds to help our startup clients receive some investments and help them along their way doing that. So a little bit around the climate goals in Hong Kong and climate financing in Hong Kong, as well as the friction involved. APAC, we've had a very nice discussion on. Well, let's look at Hong Kong. So Hong Kong traditionally hasn't been great when it comes to environmental protection in CO2. For example, we have a lot of country parks, but our actual energy consumption and CO2 emissions is quite high. Very recently, as in last year in October, the Hong Kong government came up with a net zero 2050 goal and the idea of no more coal by 2035. And in order to show this, they have agreed to additional funding. So for example, over the previous 10 years, the amount of funding in government funding in Hong Kong was only 47 billion Hong Kong dollars or 6 billion US. And the power companies CLP and Hong Kong Electric put in an additional 5 billion US for decarbonization. That's now increased substantially. The Hong Kong government alone for the next 10 to 15 years has promised 240 billion Hong Kong dollars compared to the 47 billion offered during the previous decade. And because of that, there are now a variety of different funds that startups and also individuals can consider to help them fund their journey into becoming more environmentally conscious and helping Hong Kong become a green hub. A few of them are Cyberport, Hong Kong Science Park, which I'm sure a few of you are aware of. The other ones are things like the Airport Fund, the Green Tech Fund, and the New Energy Fund. A few of these funds can actually get quite large. For example, the Green Tech Fund in Hong Kong is a 200 million Hong Kong dollar fund, and the New Energy Fund is over $1 billion Hong Kong dollars. What this means then is we're seeing we need more verification, and also we're seeing more instruments used in order to fund people because it's starting to become a hot topic both internationally and in Hong Kong. And one of the basic ones is green bond systems. So the green bond has been around since about 2009, 2010, starting off in Europe. And in 2018 was the first time a green bond was issued in Hong Kong with $1 billion US issued during May of 2019, and a second bond of 2.5 billion USD issued in January of 2021. The Hong Kong government is quite open with the idea of increasing the usage of green bonds and have actually put a cap on green bonds of 200 billion Hong Kong dollars as a soft cap of how much money people can borrow for green projects here. And that's not to say that the government itself isn't also issuing, and you're seeing more banks such as HSBC also issued bonds, such as a 15 billion bond, Hong Kong dollar bond in May of this year. Finally, there is talks right now in the Hong Kong government of integrating the Hong Kong carbon emissions with the Chinese carbon market, which is the largest in the world, and the Chinese emissions market regulates just over 3.5 billion tons of CO2, compared to Hong Kong's emissions, which are around 47 million tons. So there is current talks about integrations with the Guangdong and China system, but that's still very early stages. Why is that not working? Okay, and then so that's government. And then as Tien was showing, there is quite a lot of private equity and private financing going in for a variety of different instruments. For example, we have banks and other institutions, HSBC Green Bond. They've been writing a few reports around this. There's been 90 ESG bonds raised in Hong Kong over 2021 alone, which covered 270 billion. So this is commercial and also government. And then also you have large international banks and corporations, which have their Asia or Southeast Asia headquarters here. And these ones are moving into the green financing area just as a matter of course in their overseas operations. For example, JP Morgan has stated that they want all their financing to be carbon neutral by 2045 and has already in over 230 billion US of their investments are ESG or climate friendly. BlackRock is very similar with up to about 400 billion investments in the climate space. So you are seeing these large corporations as a matter of policy for the entire operations moving into this, and their Hong Kong branches would be affiliated with this, especially a group such as JP Morgan, which has a few thousand staff in Hong Kong. So that's the whole environment. The next thing is the friction involved in it. We do see friction, and friction is usually called greenwashing. So this goes back to the idea of verification and transaction. In the normal investment market, returns come first and the environment comes second. What we are seeing is that doesn't have to be a simple equation. Usually you can put the environment first and still get very good returns. We're seeing this with both the debt-based instruments, green bonds around the world are often severely oversubscribed, while returns based in ESG financing and ESG projects, according to fund managers, often outperform their peers in a large number of cases, while they do perform better. And even last year, if you invested in, well, over 2020, 2021, if you invested in renewable energy companies, they saw extreme leaps and bounds in their stock prices, while EV companies such as Tesla and BYD, not so much this year, but in previous years did outperform their peers, especially Tesla. So that's the first point of why you don't need to necessarily put returns first and environment second, because they do often work together. But because of this, and because, as Tien showed, the environment, climate change is such a large concern, especially for Gen Z and Gen X, you will have companies do greenwashing campaigns to try and make themselves look greener than they are. One of them is H&M, which very recently there was a report showing that they created bogus environmental scores for the carbon emissions associated with just about every single one of their products to make it seem that they were very, very green. And in certain cases, they actually said the exact opposite of the reality. So for example, they would have a pair of clothing. They would say it used 20% less water and 10% less CO2 than the baseline compared to the industry average, while in actuality it was the exact opposite. It used 20% more water and produced 10% more CO2. And this is a very interesting article that only came out about 2 or 3 days ago. Coca-Cola is another one that's been threatened, has been stated to be greenwashing, especially when it's operating in companies that have quite harsh environmental policies and ideas. For example, Kenya wants to be plastic free over the next few years, and Coca-Cola would be difficult to achieve that its current operations in Kenya because they are dependent on plastic bottles. And you have a variety of companies that have been caught doing greenwashing over the last decade, with the most famous, of course, being Volkswagen's emission scandals. So yeah, you will find bad actors in the space, and it's up to us as both consumers and also for the regulatory bodies to show that these are bad actors, to make sure that they are punished for when they do so. There's a few more links here regarding the greenwashing that I've showed you, as well as a little bit more on the Hong Kong climate plans and the HSBC Green Bond Framework. I've also sent the company's LinkedIn and website on the chat, as well as if anyone wants to scan this QR code, that should bring you to a Contact Us page as well. Anyway, that is all I have, and all our speakers will answer some questions at the end of the talk. Thank you again for everyone's participation.
Thank you, Sam, for the information on ESG investment in Hong Kong, as well as some info on greenwashing. That's really inspiring. Actually, both CarbonX and Earth Venture Capital specialize in helping green tech startups that create environmental benefits. So now let's turn to some green tech startups focusing on ocean conservation as well as sustainable development. Our third speaker today, Ms. Vriko Yu, the CEO of archiREEF, has dedicated her career to using technologies such as 3D printing to restore a coral reef system. So now let's welcome Vriko to talk about the work of archiREEF.
Hi, thanks for the intro, Nancy, and thank you everyone for joining the call. I'm Vriko. I'm the co-founder and CEO of archiREEF. And at archiREEF, we rebuilt a dynamic ecosystem from reef to the shore, so very happy to be here to introduce our technology with you guys. So as we know, coral reefs are dying. Every day, every year, we're hearing saying that we have the most severe bleaching event in the Great Barrier Reef, and the headline basically repeat every single year. In fact, since the 1950s, we have already lost 50% of the reefs, and scientists have already declared that if nothing changes, in the next 30 years, we will lose up to 90%. And this is alarming time because if we lose the reefs, it will impact the several areas. So the first one would be reef tourism will disappear along with the reefs. The fishing industry will also be impacted because of the loss of biodiversity. And also, as importantly, the safety of coastal community will be at risk because they would lack the structures that will be protecting the community from wave actions and likes of tsunamis. So the current side guide is the global leaders know that we cannot afford to lose the reefs. The United Nations, for example, they have already incorporated ecosystem restoration into sustainable development goals. For example, 13th climate action, 14th life below water, and more recently 17 partnerships for the goals. And that also echoed for our webinars today. It's all about collaboration. People from all walks of life need to join the mission. And starting from last year, the UN even made a more aggressive call in declaring that this decade is the most important when it comes to ecosystem restoration. Because if you look at the numbers, we are at a tipping point. If we don't act now, even if we spend 10 times of the effort, 10 years later, the effectiveness would be significantly reduced because we just simply missed the window that we can reverse the change. But when it comes to ecosystem restoration, one of the major bottleneck is that we fail to scale from different angles, either financially or in terms of a technology. So that's what we're tackling on within archiREEF. So first, when it comes to technology, we created the world's first 3D printed reef structures made from terracotta. So this technology we take into account of the environmental conditions of the local waters, feed in that data into our algorithm, and create the top layer of the tiles that is best adapted to the local water conditions. So these are basically what we're doing is that we are creating structures to renovate the seafloor so that we can help to target restoration species to tackle the environmental conditions locally. And this is how it works. So basically, as said, these structures are made from 2 layers, and the top layer is created and designed from algorithm, which will take into account the local water conditions. So when we go to the site, for example, we started the project in Hong Kong. If we want to expand it outside of Hong Kong, for example, Abu Dhabi, all we need to do is to extract data online, feed that into the algorithm, and create one that's specific for Abu Dhabi waters and corals. And this is how it looks in the water. Our first pilot project was backed by the Hong Kong government, deployed in one of the marine parks. As you can see, corals at the back, they're fully founded and fully seeded with lives. And the cuttlefish right here is a mom, actually. We've seen her multiple times. The first time I saw her, she was trying to catch a prey under the reef tiles. And when cuttlefish catch, they're really funny. They would turn into a 2-dimensional structure and have the 2 tentacles that are ready to catch the little fish or little critters under it. And this picture was taken at the end of her life because she was laying eggs under the reef tiles. So that's like a beautiful story that we often share, is that when we rebuild the ecosystems, it's not just about the coral, it's also about the biodiversity that we create. And that's oftentimes people are referring this kind of solutions as nature-based solution. So in summary, like our report is also, our products are also providing tangible data. So the first one is, right now we are securing 98% survivorship over the course of 2 years. And right now this number is 4 times more effective than traditional methods out on the market. And second, because of the technology, 3D printing, and the algorithm-based design that we use, we are offering a high flexibility, meaning that we can easily scale across geographies, but also to different marine ecosystems. And as the other speakers has already mentioned, why ocean? Why blue carbon? The blue carbon in space often refer to marine ecosystem like mangroves, kelp forest. Something that's missing right now is the carbonizing animals, ecosystems like oyster reefs or coral reefs. But these ecosystems in general are referred as blue carbon, which is 10 times more effective in capturing carbon. But we will talk about this, like what is lacking behind. Like it is revealing potential, but right now it's still under development. We still need more data. So we can talk more about it when it comes to the Q&A section. So another innovation about scaling up is how can we scale up or accelerate the adoptions of the technology outside of the academia and conservation world. So when it comes to innovation, our team has also developed this innovative B2B model where we are engaging our corporate clients to adopt our solutions as well so that they can be part of the solution. So how it works is that our client will pay us a set of fee so that we will deploy a reef structures depending on the square meter under their name, and then they will also sign a subscription model depending on the level of engagement that they wish, that they would prefer. So that's what we call as a setup fee and a subscription model, and we refer this as a reef as a service inspired from the SaaS model. So at the moment, we are less than 2 years old. We're still quite a young startup. We were started in Hong Kong because this came out as a university research out from the University of Hong Kong. Right now, I'm in Abu Dhabi, where our company is expanding to Abu Dhabi because there's also a huge market blooming in this part of the world. So Hong Kong headquarters, but also expanding to the Abu Dhabi to expand to the Middle East market. So about our team, I'm Vriko again. I'm co-founder and CEO of archiREEF. I'm also a PhD student at the University of Hong Kong, where I've spent 8 years on corals restoration specifically. The reason why I'm using archiREEF as a vehicle is that I'm seeing flaws in the academic world where we're not accelerate, or I should put it this way, we're not trained to accelerate impact in the society. So we're using archiREEF as a vehicle to translate science and a workable solution in a space where we can have reach to a broader audience. Together with David, he's the leading scientist when it comes to the marine space, and he's an associate professor at the University of Hong Kong. The other co-founder, Dennis, he's the startup guy with 10 years of experience in this commercial world, where he is the commercial mind behind this, where we can translate our business model into a more business digestible manner. Then Dominic is our MIT guy, and he basically translates ideas and science into products and services. So we have been very lucky that we have been featured by different multiple international outlets such as CNN, Tablet, and the World Economic Forum as well. So if you want to know more about it, please feel free to connect with me. Here's my email, and I'll also share my LinkedIn account on the chat box. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Vriko, for your introduction on the technological innovation for coral reef restoration, as well as the work of archiREEF in scaling up ocean conservation. Next, let's welcome Mr. Sidhant Gupta, the co-founder of Clearbot, to talk about how his company uses intelligent robotics for marine service and marine waste cleanup. Fun fact, Sidhant has also spoken at TEDx, and he is currently holding a Guinness record for building the world's fastest robotic fish. Sidhant, you can share your screen now.
You're muted, Sid.
Oh, thanks for that. I've been talking. Well, awesome. Well, yeah, pleasure to meet everybody. I'm Sidhant. I'm one of the co-founders of Clearbot, and yeah, I've actually spent a little while in Hong Kong in marine robotics, right, in ocean robotics. That's my area of expertise, and started off a couple of years back trying to build the world's fastest robotic fish. And over a 5-year project, we actually started with that. We broke the Guinness World Record in 2020. And since then, I've been working on underwater cameras and, of course, Clearbot, right? So today, I want to cover a little bit about what Clearbot is, what we do, and what we think is the right way to address the problem, right? And so we're going to start with kind of the top level conversation, which I think every speaker before me has already sort of reiterated, which is that today our balance between, well, humanity and the ocean, and I would say not only the ocean, really more than that, just the earth is broken, right? The way our industries, the way our businesses operate today, they do not prioritize the environment. And that's eventually bad for business, right? If these businesses want to stay sustainable, to keep existing, they need to make sure that their processes and that their relationship with the environment makes sense. Now, that is what we want to do at our company, right? Our mission here is to restore this relationship with our planet. And for us, how we try and do that is using technology. So, right, technology has always unlocked opportunities, and we believe the time is today. So, as everyone kind of said, there's capital as well coming into solving climate issues because of the risk that it creates for industries. And we believe that this is the right time to bring new technology into the industry to actually make that difference. So, our story starts off on a beach in Bali about 3 years ago, right? These two guys you see here on the screen, they're actually surf shop owners. So they own a little surf shop rental sort of thing on the beach. And we were out in Bali on a graduation trip, and we noticed that in the morning, everyone, all the shop owners would go out and collect the trash out of the water by hand. And Tien had a lovely little video, a picture with those children on the beach, you know. So we've all seen this problem firsthand, right? And so while we were in Bali, we basically started to build kind of the idea for Clearbot itself. And so what they're holding, those little 4 bars of aluminum, is actually the very first Clearbot, right? So it was just built out of local material. We took a toy drone and some like water bottles and put together the idea saying, hey, instead of people going into the water, can we actually use a machine to do it? And it's already easier, right? Because it's hard for a human to swim that much. There's a sort of energy constraint. There's a constraint on number of people you can have. And so in Bali, even with this version, we were able to show that, hey, if you want to collect trash out of the water, automation makes sense, right? We came back to Hong Kong, and we found something that looks exactly like this, right? So in Hong Kong, they're taking these 30-foot sampans with a 40 horsepower petrol engine, and then drive them around to try and collect waste. And it's quite comical to watch because there's a 30-foot boat and a small little water bottle. They're trying to like maneuver this entire machine to collect little bottles, right? And the government of Hong Kong contracts about 80 boats a year to go every single day. And the funny part is these boats, well, they're actually running on petrol. So they're creating pollution while trying to clean pollution. And if you look at, because the recycling rates are low from a carbon to carbon basis, they're actually creating more pollution than they clean up, right? And so we see a very fundamental issue, which is even when the resources are available, even when the communities and the governments have a vested interest to solve the problem, the tools aren't available to actually do it. And that's exactly what we started doing at Clearbot, right? So at Clearbot, we're basically creating, well, this sort of automated, self-driving, emission-free electric boat. It can be solar charged. And we use a bit of artificial intelligence to find and collect waste, right? So I'll go a bit into that later. We're trying to make this boat look really sexy so that governments, private corporations are attracted and pick up the technology and are open to adopt. And we're replacing gasoline powered boats with cleaner, greener machines. The best part is these are actually cheaper to operate. So if you're looking at marine waste cleanup, just as a specific example, we're actually cheaper to use than those petrol powered boats because of the fuel and manpower cost. And that's even in economies like Indonesia, India, where the cost of manpower is low, right? And so we're trying to provide a solution that's better for business and yet also better for the environment. And I think that is the template that we need going forward. And of course, I mean, like what Vriko was talking about with archiREEF is really similar, right? So that's a bit about kind of what we're doing with our machine. Now, interestingly, the use cases for this kind of thing are far beyond. And that's because as we started doing trash cleaning, clients who were running operations across the ocean, different parts of the ocean sector, started coming to us saying, hey, we need something better, right? So for example, we're actually doing projects to do oil collection, foam cleaning, surveys, so emission-free green surveys, and sort of data collection, and even moving cargo. So our boats currently have a 200 kilo capacity to move cargo. And we're seeing clients basically say, we want to do emission-free transport of small scale cargo, right? And so what we're seeing is that we kind of started off saying, oh, we just want to sort of clean the water. But eventually what we're ending up expanding into is a whole suite of marine services that we can now offer at a lower cost, better for the environment, right? And so as you can see, the robots kind of come back, they can dock in place, they can be run on radio control or in autonomous mode. And so you can have a single person running up to 5 boats. And so that way we're able to cut costs in terms of manpower. And the final thing I'd like to talk about a little bit is something everyone's touched on, which is transparency being a huge issue in this sector, right? So what our machine has, it has a little camera which is placed right next to the conveyor belt. And so as the trash goes up our conveyor belt, we are actually photographing it. And we've trained a very simple machine learning model to classify different kinds of waste. So for example, right now we can do bottles, plastic bags, wrappers, bottle caps, food containers, that sort of thing. And all of that data is actually stored. So when we do cleanup work, at the end of that cleanup activity, we actually are able to give our clients an idea of what kind of trash was collected, what was the weight, at what location was it collected. And eventually that's going to help prevent the leakage from happening in the first place. So if you can understand what kind of materials are ending up in the water, that's where the actual fight to stop it at source starts, right? So it gives us a better understanding. So yeah, more or less, I think that is the crux of my presentation. We've been very lucky, just like Vriko, to be featured on a bunch of media. Here are some of our partners today. And I'll be happy to answer some questions during Q&A. So yeah, looking forward to hearing questions and comments later.
Okay, thank you, Sidhant, for the information on Clearbot and also the automation solution to ocean conservation to approach carbon neutrality. Now let's turn our eyes towards an energy sustainability perspective. Our last speaker today is Ms. Doug Zhang, the Business Development Manager at Ingine, a company specializing in wave energy utilization. as the project lead of the first wave energy project in Vietnam, Duong is striving to develop wave energy projects in APEC countries. Now let's welcome Ms. Duong Zeng for an introduction on their technology in efficient wave utilization.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So this is Minh Duc, Business Development Manager at Ingine, which is a wave energy technology developer from Korea. So firstly, I would like to say thanks to everyone to invite me to the event today to be with very great people, great technology to discuss sustainable oceans. So let me have a short introduction about our technology and show you how it contributes to sustainable development. So do you know that around 400 million people relies on diesel generation, and that 40% of global population living near the shoreline, which is vulnerable to climate change? So we see this huge issue, and we try to extract the energy from waves and convert it into clean and affordable electricity. So as you can see, two other technology directly protect the oceans. What we do is we try to harness wave energy to power life. So why wave? Because as we can see here from the graph, that wave energy, ocean energy produce lowest carbon emission, but it still ensure the high quality energy. And the most important thing here is really suitable for islands and shorelines. Our technology name is InWave, is an onshore wave energy technology, which is a point observer type wave energy converter. And let me show you how it works. So you can see from the screen that a power generating unit will be installed onshore and connecting to a floating device located close to the shore. This floating device will collect wave energy, and this wave energy will be mechanically transmitted to the onshore side through ropes. And we can see here too that there are no subsea cable, no turbines, which have to reduce the impact on environments and also have to do the O&M easier. So our business models include the equipment sales, operation, maintenance, service, and electricity sales. Currently, we have more than 12 megawatt projects under development in 8 countries. And when we talk about impact, we estimate that with 1 megawatt in waves installed, we can have to avoid 30,000 tons CO2 over 20 years of our project life cycle. And also we estimate that with 1 megawatt in wave installed, we can have to produce more than 200 million liters of fresh water per year. So by developing in-wave technology, we hope that it will have to contribute to the development of islands, coastal areas, such as to have them achieve their energy independence and also reinforce the local development, as well as to contribute to the diversification of energy mix in the near future. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Duong, for the information on Ingine's wave energy harvesting technology to promote green renewable energy. I guess all of our speakers have spoken at this point, so we will just enter our Q&A session. I think we've gathered a bunch of questions coming from our participants before the event started. And we will approach these questions before answering any questions that you may have at this moment. And you can also raise your hand if you have any immediate questions at this point. We are happy to address any of them. And the first question comes from Mohammed Rabiullah from Green Tech Foundation, Bangladesh. I believe this question, Sam can answer this question. So Mohammed asks, how can we build carbon trading business?
Okay, so I'm assuming this is like emissions trading at the government level and how it's regulated. The whole thing is you need to pressure the government, because what carbon trading is you're basically putting a monetary value on the pollution you create. And certain countries value this differently. So for example, in the EU, there's an absolute cap for certain industries of how much emissions they can trade in with all the players within that industry. But as long as the overall cap isn't breached, each industry can sell and buy these credits. Credits usually refer to 1 ton of emissions, and that gives them a license to pollute. And then every year, this actual cap goes down. So in the EU, for example, it's supposed to go down at about 2.5% per year for the entire industry. So it incentivizes people to decarbonize their industry and their factories, because not only does the absolute amount that they can pollute goes down, but then also they have to trade for the amounts that they can actually buy and sell, of pollution by buying and selling credits as well. So that's how a well-regulated carbon market is supposed to go in. And in the EU, it can actually get quite expensive with credits at about, last year it peaked at nearly 100 euros per ton. But in other countries, it's slightly less regulated because the country itself is in a different phase. So for example, in China, which has the largest carbon market, the cap is not going down, it's actually going up, because China only expects to peak emissions by 2030. And what happens there is you get a much lower price of carbon. So if you're looking at a carbon market, what you need to do is you need to make an extremely well-regulated system that has a high price of carbon and a moving cap. So you need to pressurize governments and businesses that this is in their best interest for the climate and also for their shareholders. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sam, for answering this question. The next question comes from Fanny Sovignat. Fanny asks, what are the most promising aspects of environmental impact assessment resulting from your type of technology? And I believe Vriko, Sidhant, and Duong can answer this one.
I'm happy to start the conversation there. So I think for us specifically, there are 2 big areas where we see sort of impact. The first is directly in terms of carbon, like CO2 emissions, right? So for every kilometer we go, every time we've replaced a petrol-powered boat, a gasoline-powered boat in the water, then we're cutting emissions. So we actually track that as well internally. And then the second is in terms of actually data collection, water data collection, right? So in terms of understanding what kind of waste is in the water, what does the makeup look like, where is it coming from, how do things like tides and stuff affect it? So that kind of study has just never been done, and so we have a very sort of limited understanding today. So I think that is specifically for what we're building. I think that is where the value add in terms of impact is.
Cool. So as for our 3D printed reef tiles, the first thing is that we're looking at the focal coral species, first of all. So we're looking at their coral survivorship, which is 98%, and also their health status. And as they grow, they are also creating this habitat that enhance biodiversity. So the second part of that, the matrix that we're looking at would be on the biodiversity level, where we would source the environmental DNA from the restored area so that we can know who lives in the restored area. And further down the line, one thing, as we briefly mentioned, is that corals, as potentially part of the blue carbon, also have this are also effective carbon sink. So what we're also looking into is how the ecosystem that we build are capturing carbon and how effective they are in storing the carbon within their biomass. So these are the three major metrics that we are looking at.
Great. So similar to Clearbot, we also care about the carbon emission, but also because our aim is like harvest the waste energy efficiently. So environment impact assessment is our key concern. So every time we design our system, our project, we care about the environment. We care how to minimize the impact on the environment. So last year, we are one of 3 project owners that's selected by USAID to conduct an environmental impact assessment, and it's still ongoing. So I hope we can share the results soon to everyone. But also in 2021, we did an environmental survey to check if the environment change significant after before and after we installed our plant in Tier 2 Korea, and it showed that no change, no negative impact on the subtidal Baltic anymore community, and also no negative impact on the water quality. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we have no turbines, no subsea cable on seaside, so we can reduce the machinery noise and we can reduce the impact on the environment. Thank you.
Okay, looks like Ashari Ali from New Energy Asia has a question. Are you raising your hand?
Yeah,
I think you can speak now. Yeah.
Yes, thanks for very informative, solution. Just wondering, because I'm based in Singapore, but I got my operation up in Indonesia. The issue is all these solution, cost some of funding, right? Money, because I have the issue, like for example, there's a lot of Indonesian who do prawning, and the water seep to the area. For example, I have a pastoral family members of mine in the island, and they do prawning, and the water then goes out to the sea, the island, and all it's not good, and I can see for certain everything is polluted. But how do you find a solution for that? Because one is all polluted, is too, after a while it become, difficult to start all over again, right? To rehabilitate the area. Because the energy when you ask them is more like, I need money, economy big. Prawning is very good. I think in Vietnam as well, people do the prawning, right? Because economic for them is good, but then again, they become another problem, the pollution. Then you ask them, it become like a wicked problem, right? And solution costs money. And for these islanders, money is not the one thing that they have in mind about taking care of the environment, How we resolve that, because I'm into biofuel, sustainability, by going back to a certain area, it's quite hard, to tell these people to take care of the pollution and on what the economic well-being of the people, Thank you. And sorry, another thing is that how we get used to all this solution base, do you apply that across the country? Because of course some country they're able to pay, right? But some country, they are, even in climate change, the funding gap is in $1 trillion, for this climate to reach 1.5, whatever you have there, and how if the solution is to only cater for certain people who can pay, or there are other areas that we can sort your assistance.
Sure. Again, I'd be happy to just give my thoughts on this. So to answer your question, Ashari, I mean, I think, well, for starters, it's absolutely legitimate concern, right? Which is like, how does someone even start to afford this kind of solution? And to be honest with you, so you can see, like, even with us, we started off in Indonesia with on the beach, and of course, the product we have today honestly, the guys we started off with probably cannot afford that, right? But I think where that starts to change, at least for what we are doing, is with volume, right? So the moment you start producing, it's like with cars or anything, right? There's economies of scale. So the moment you start producing more and more of them, actually the cost per unit goes much, much lower. And actually then it starts to become affordable for local communities, local municipalities to be able to adopt these kind of solutions, right? Now for us, the challenge is, okay, how do we actually scale to a point where then the cost starts going down, that local communities can adopt? So for us, the strategy has in fact been very B2B, very government focused. And yes, you are right, there are some countries that can afford it, some countries where it's more difficult. So our strategy is very much to focus on the people who can afford it right now, because what's going to happen is, if they buy today, because the volumes are going up, the cost is going to start coming really, really low, right? I mean, the cost of producing for us one boat versus 100 boats, at 100 boats the cost is almost 30% of what it can be for one boat, right? And so I think the solution lies in economies of scale. So as startups, we have to be smart about it, and sort of the goal has to very much be to make the products affordable, to make the solutions easy to use, and that's, at least for our at what we do at Clearbot, that's kind of the direction we're going in.
Yeah, actually, I really like Sid's answer, because that also capture our product as well. Because I think as a startup, I think not many startup would do hardware because of the economy of scale, because we will have to invest a lot in terms of production and building up the capacity. We're facing the same issue, and that's for the same reasons why we are starting working with government and large corporations at first. But I think ultimately, either within archiREEF or Clearbot, is that we want our solutions to be adopted by everyone, where financial would not be a barrier. But as a startup, of course, there are some, we need more time to build up that, but that is the direction that we're heading over. And as for your frustration about seeing what we are seeing today, I think it has to start somewhere. If we don't start today, I don't think the situation will be better in the coming years. So I would say there's hope, and now is the better time to start doing something within our capacity. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on this one. But thank you for your answer. Thank you for your question.
I just wanted to mention one very quick thing about that as well. Sidhant and Vriko, even though their product doesn't have a direct monetary benefits right away, it does have indirect benefits that are multiple folds over the cost of their system, especially in trash collection and in tourism industry. Vriko with the artificial reef systems, I mean, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia gets hundreds of millions to billions of dollars through the scuba diving industry and the fishing industry. And by having a reef system in place, you help protect that and you future-proof it. Sudan is exactly the same. Tien showed some pictures of some really polluted beaches. Well, the whole idea of Clearbot is you won't have that in the future. That's the whole idea. So it's also a little bit investing in the future, because if you don't invest in this, and then what you're currently getting, a couple $100 million, will disappear over the next few years. So why don't you spend $1 million or $2 million to protect the 50 million you're getting per year in revenue? And that makes a lot of economic sense to me.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I just want to add on one more thing. Is that there are fundings out there that would finance the deployment of these solutions in Southeast Asia in particular, because of the reach biodiversity and the reach coral reef coverage. So what we're doing on the side is that we do engage with local stakeholders, either islanders, if they're under climate risk and they're dedicated to adopt the solutions, we will actually finance them from a third party. So this is also one of the ways that we can kickstart before our solution can make it affordable in-house. So yeah, if you know anybody that would be interested in our solutions, please do reach out. There's always way to kickstart and run the trials whenever possible. So yeah.
So sorry. I'm very glad, because I'm to the same boat as you guys, because I'm doing biofuel. So the funding is quite hard, and telling people about, the solution is good. So I'm glad that, attending this one and networking or that, I know how difficult to have a startup, it's not easy, especially bootstrapping, all that, But certainly, I agree with you entirely. With Gupta, that I just sent a link, and I hope we can do something about it. Right, and work for the solution. And also, Cooke say, some say, Indonesia have a lot of money. They receive, but the problem is, it's not the government. Sometimes the government is governing, the bureaucracy sit in, and because like the people in Bali, they're good, but you go to next, just opposite Bali, another island, it's very different thing, because tourism is not, it's not there. But anyway, I still be optimistic knowing you guys. That's for certain. Thank you. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks everyone for the beautiful questions and answers. The next one is for Tien to answer. This one comes from James Cunningham from Speed Sourcing. James asks, what is Earth Venture Capital's investment return horizon? And who does Earth Venture Capital partner with to ensure your invested digital solutions are coupled with appropriate hardware solutions?
Yeah, thanks. It's like very common questions. And yeah, we entered this game as a patient investor. And I also believe that if you're not patient, you cannot invest in climate change. And we focus for Fund 1 is a digital solution for climate change. So we use our strengths in digital, in software. So we can add value in some company, like we would like to invest in IoT, AI, machine learning, and robotics. So we take on the responsibility, and also we got advisors to the startup in terms of the software, how to scale the software and stuff. So we, like any other fund, like any funds that I ever managed, our goal is triple the fund. So we really hope that we can triple the assets that we manage for our LP. So that's the goal. But in this term of climate change, we need to calculate the impacts that we create together with return. So, but anyway, we are thematic investor. So we choose team to invest in to guarantee that the impact will be there. We are not experts in calculating the impact. And I do believe that if you spend too much time in calculating a lot of math, doing a lot of math, it's not enough time for you to do anything else to create value. So we just choose team that we can invest in, and Ocean is a team that we invest in. So like I mentioned in the 3 missions that we got. So yeah, for now, I must say that we are patient. We look for invest in like in 10 years, we can triple our fund. And we also believe in the team that we can choose. Yeah, so shortly is about.
Okay, thank you, Tien. The next question is for Tien and Sam together. This one comes from Jeffrey Gold from IMS Worldwide. Jeffrey asks about green funding, and he asks about green funding. Is it a hype?
Well, I'm not a VC, so I'll say it from a non-VC perspective right now. I think there is a lot of hype in green funding, which is ESG in general. The amount of verification and checks that is in green funding right now is not enough. For example, under the Paris Climate Agreement in 2015, developing nations promised developing nations $100 billion USD by the end of 2020. We got pretty close. I think over the last few years, it was over 70 billion in developmental aid. But the Indian finance minister at one of the meetings, I think in 2020, actually came out and said that of that 70 billion that was put into the developing nations, he felt only 7 to 9 billion of that was real. So that shows you that there is definitely some hype regarding the green financing industry and what is real or not. I don't know if Tien shares a similar opinion, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. And it's a very interesting topic, and I would like to show you this one. Is very modern things. Like you can see here, Michael Jackson is not the old Michael Jackson. This is VC Michael Jackson, and he's a very interesting VC friends of mine, and he's got a post like this in LinkedIn. So he do things that the climate tech VC is a bubble been formed in Europe, like because investor in the VC will just put money, pour all kind of money into this word, and there's the school of people that believe that it's a bubble, right? And yeah, blah blah blah. And my comments in this one is just about I do believe that it's just thoughts of some people. It's got a lot of interaction and a lot of things people just interact to this topic. It seemed to be a very interesting topic. A lot of people will comment in this. Just in my opinion, it's something that people mention, and I am of the opposite. So I do believe that is not only about hype. There will be somebody that hype to invest in VC, in climate tech VC, but at least for me, I believe that it's worth doing something like this. And there's any hype like this, right? But at least when people put more money in some particular topic, for example, like blockchain, it's more resources for us as startup and VC to build new things. And when it comes to the peak, the numbers of company will go down very soon, and it will be more company that been the winner in this sector, and it's become the company that carries the most value. But at least if we invest more into some sector, we can bring more human resources, more talent, more ideas, and more innovation into this world. First, I think any revolution needs to start like this. And after that, it will be bubble, will be burst, will be anything. But anyway, it leads to something new. Revolution needs to evolution is what I believe in terms of this situation.
Okay, thank you, Tien Sam, for answering this question. Andrew is raising hand for a while, and you can go now.
Hi, thank you for your efforts and for organizing this event and for all the work you're doing and everyone gathering today. My question is, how can we support you in your personal journey? Sorry, Ashari shared earlier, it's hard to have a startup, to be in a startup, and I've been there. I've been there, and to put it into context, my organization that I'm starting, co-starting, is called Harmony on Mother Earth, and we're basing our organization on mindfulness practice and meditation and things like that, to kind of refresh ourselves to have the capacity to do the work that we do. And we're aware that especially the entrepreneurial world, there's this the trough of despair, as they call it, or I don't know if you're still calling it that. These personal things that along your journey. And my question is, how can we support that? We want to support, as I'm calling it, earth care workers in continuing the work. So, when we're touching despair or we're feeling like it's, kind of hopeless, like, how can we help you? How can we kind of support the community in that process? And my second question is more practical: is how can we support the projects as maybe we're not an investor necessarily. So maybe kind of a general public, how we can support you, or as a community, or is it building community? You know, which projects do we know are the most impactful, and of those most impactful things, which ones need the most? So sorry, that's many questions. Thank you. Let me know if you need me to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, thank you, Andrew. I think I can absolutely feel your support. So thank you for being so supportive. Yeah, I myself is a first-time founder. So walking through this journey, I have to say I've been very, very lucky to be in this community where people are overall very, very supportive. Because of the same mission that we are seeing, and we're eyeing the same is the tackling climate change. In terms of like practical support, in my opinion, I think everyone is a micro influencer. So if we can be more vocal about the problem that we are facing and how we can be part of the solutions. Of course, this can be context dependent, but every little things that even if you're just skipping using straw or use one less plastic bottle today, these are celebrations. As we mention it more online, then people will be more conscious about what they're doing, and they can be part of the problem or solution. So I think everyone being more vocal about delivering the message would be a huge help, especially on social media. So yeah, that was just my one thought.
Thanks, Andrew. I think there's some ways that you can help support us, which is stay in the community. Within the community, I think we share more ideas, and we will exchange, because anyway, I believe that our journey is full of mistake, and we should take the mistake. We should fail very, very fast, and then keep on going. So just help us, bear with us in the community, and you can be the early adopter. I think after this call, I will be the. I hope that I can buy some Clearbot or sponsor or buy any REEF as a service from Vriko, and also Clearbot from Seed. So I hope to be the early adopter, and I believe that any one in the community, the best way to help us is stay in the community and be in our early adopter.